Good day, everyone. This is Sidney Lefofe of SL Podcasts. I'm very excited again today to be sharing information with you, the information that is meant to change your life and make you better. We are on another important topic today. Giving up is not an option. Never quit. Keep digging. The high road to success, self-actualization and fulfillment can be steep sometimes, and it can leave us with pains in our bodies, with pains in our emotions and everything concerning us. The decision to change our lives for the better can take every ounce of our energy, because it can be a long and lonely journey. We need to understand that about life. Very few people appreciate and support struggle. Struggles antagonize and irritate many people. And if we start on a journey to make a difference for ourselves, to make changes that can improve our lives, we should know not everyone is going to support us. We might see that we have antagonized and irritated people by just deciding to be better and changing our lives. Expecting red carpets are misplaced thoughts when we are digging trenches, because those are messy places. When we are doing foundations and working hard to change our lives, we should know for sure that we shouldn't expect red carpets. We shouldn't expect standing ovations and applauses. Those are the things that we should never expect, because it can be a messy place and people don't appreciate messy places. Buildings look perfect after the finishing has been done. And if we are going to expect people to appreciate the building while construction is ongoing, those shall be just illusions, because when buildings are still under construction, they are edgy, they are rough, and a little bit messy. So we can't expect people to come and admire a building under construction. Whenever we are working hard to change our lives, we should know it is still messy, and people are not going to appreciate what we are trying to do. It might antagonize people because we are doing what they are failing to do, and it might irritate them. That's why you might get a little bit of rejection, being despised, because you are trying to change your life. We need to appreciate the stages of building up our lives, that we can manage the disappointments and the unnecessary discouragements when we are on this journey. We need to understand that it can be challenging and it can come with a little bit of discouragement sometimes. With new products, with new ideas, with new names, we should know there might be door slams on our faces. And we need to learn to not take them to heart. The same door slammers may be begging for your entry in the future. That one should be very clear to us. Whenever we come up with new products, new ideas, try to change our lives, people are going to slam doors on our faces. So, and we really need to understand that it is because we are trying to make a difference for ourselves. Don't take them to heart. You might need to transact with them in the future. It is very important for us to understand that whatever people do, rejecting our proposals, rejecting us for trying to make a difference or changing our lives, we don't need to take it to heart. We don't need to take it personal. We might need to transact with them in the future, and we cannot hold them accountable for rejecting what they did not understand. We would be okay if we could understand that the steep road to success leads to higher grounds where few people are. Mountain tops are beautiful scenery. When you are there, you are walking on the mountain top. After you overcome the steep walk to the top, it is very important for us to understand that many people desire to see changes, but very few people can make the walk to the top of the mountain. And when you reach the top of the mountain, it is a beautiful scenery. You can look at different things, and you can have a clear view and a good perspective because you have overcome the steepness of the walk to the top. There is a highway seclusive for the high road travelers. We need to understand that there is a highway where very few people can make their way there. Like I said, a lot of people want changes, but they don't want to do anything. They don't put action plans in place to make sure that they can do what they really want. We need to understand that we don't need to settle for mediocrity and a low life or a life of not enough just because we don't desire to walk the highway, which is seclusive. We need to make a decision to say, this is what I want in life and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk the steep road to the summit of the mountain. We really don't have a room to give up on our pursuit of success, self-actualization, and fulfillment. We may change our course with the same outcome in our minds. We need to understand that we don't need to give up. Well, it doesn't matter how painful it might be, or it doesn't matter how discouraging it might be. We don't need to give up on our pursuits. We don't need to give up on the changes that we want. I know this is January, we have made resolutions and we want to lose weight, we want to improve our finances, we want to do a lot of things. We don't need to quit because we are faced up with challenges. We can do this. At the end of the year, we can look back and say, I didn't quit, I didn't give up, and here I am. There is improvement. Why do you quit on something you are sold out to? This idea or the notion to change our lives for the better, it should be processed in such a way that it can be part and parcel of us. We need to let it simmer. We need to marinate ourselves in the notion that we want to change our lives. And if we can come to a place where we can understand what we want, and we want it bad enough to do something about it, it will help us, because even when the going gets tough, we'll be there. And we will not give up. We will not quit on what we desire to do. We keep going when we are going upstream. We keep digging in hard places. It is very important for us to understand that we keep rowing against the current because we are heading to a very important destination. This is very crucial for us. We need to keep going. We need to keep digging. It doesn't matter how hard the ground might be. We need to keep digging. We need to keep rowing against the current. We need to be there. We need to withstand the storms and not quit. It is very important because we know where we are heading. When we know where we are heading, we will have the energy to keep going against the current. We need to choose the highway and stay on it. Keep going to the summit, where we will have a clear and better aesthetic view of ourselves and everything around us. We need to keep going. Where we want to go, to a place of success, self-actualization and fulfillment, is a higher ground where we can have a clear view. We need to keep going. Instant success is a myth. A lot of us, we end up giving up life because we are told some things which are not true. Nowadays, because of these issues of cryptocurrency and other investments, we are made to believe that success can be easy. We are made to believe that instant gratification is possible. Yes, it can be possible, but how sustainable can that be? Real success takes time. It cannot happen overnight. That one we need to understand. Instant success is a myth. And if we want real changes, if we want the changes that can last a lifetime, we need to understand that we have to be patient with ourselves. We need to keep going. And we need to have made up our minds that this is what I want. This is how I want my life to pan out. Instant success is a myth always. Many successful people failed hundreds of times. If we choose to give up instead of working harder to reach our goals, we will never succeed. That one is something that we need to understand. Successful people failed many times. And if they can be honest, they will tell you, I've tried 1, 2, 3 things and they failed. But because they had a vision of where they want to go, it doesn't matter whether you go there on a bicycle or on a horseback or footing. It doesn't matter. As long as we can keep going, we can change how we want to get there, but we should never allow ourselves to quit. We should never allow ourselves to give up on our notion to make changes in our lives. It is very important. Walt Disney, I'm just giving an example of a popular figure, Walt Disney. He was fired by a newspaper editor for lacking imagination. The whole him, who went on to be a founder of Disney business, was once fired, or he was ridiculed for lacking imagination. And I wonder what kind of imagination was required from him. The man who went on to control the whole world by his imagination and bringing things on TV and all that. So we need to understand that it doesn't necessarily mean because people are not seeing what you are trying to do, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit because of that. Had Walt Disney decided to quit, we could never have realized and seen what he could do with Disney business. It is very important for us to be realistic about getting criticism from people, or how we handle criticism that we get from people around us. If we have a vision or we want to change our lives and we have internalized it, we will keep going. It doesn't matter who says what. It doesn't matter the naysayers. It doesn't matter the people who are sitting on their couches and making comments while we are working very hard trying to make our lives count. It is very important to understand that we don't listen to every story that is said about us. We need to keep focused. We need to keep doing what we want to do and never quit. The reality about quitting, this is what we need to understand. Whenever we get tempted, whenever we come to a place where the temptation to quit escalates, we should understand this. You could be quitting right before your success. Many times this happens. Every time the breakthrough becomes near, the temptation to quit escalates. Because this is a test of character for you to say, can you withstand a little bit of pressure before life hands you what you want? And many people crumble and crash when they are just too close to succeed. And it is very important for us to understand that you could be quitting right before your success. Every time you are tempted to close doors and quit, you need to understand it might be this close. I understand, because on a personal scale, my turnaround time, my life significant event happened when my business was in trouble, rental arrears and all that, and the temptation to quit was just too high, and my office was even locked. But because I was determined and I never wanted to quit, I stayed on course. And within a week, I got a tender that made it possible for me to clear every arrear and to be able to continue business. And had I quit that time, I know I could not be in business now, because the temptation to quit always comes when you are too close to your breakthroughs. It is very important for us to understand that every time you get the temptation to quit, you should know, maybe my breakthrough is just here. Struggle doesn't equate to failure. This is the second point that we need to understand about the reality of quitting. When we are struggling or we are not doing as much as we want to, we need to understand that struggle doesn't equate to failure. It doesn't necessarily mean because you are struggling, you are failing. Every time we push to get to the changes that we want, it is a struggle. And when things are not adding up, it doesn't equate to failure. We need to put life into perspective. Struggle is not failing. It is a road to where we want to go. We can't reach there without a struggle. We need to appreciate struggle, and we should not equate it to fail. It is very important for us. And in conclusion, we are going to get few tips for not quitting. It is very important for us to understand that when we are tempted to quit, it doesn't necessarily mean we should quit. We need to understand that it is important for us to stay on course. the first thing we are going to talk about, we need to be patient with ourselves. No one has ever become successful overnight unless you have won a lotto or something. Success takes time. And we need to be very patient with ourselves. We need to appreciate that it takes time. And when things are delaying, when we don't get to the figures we want, we need to be patient with ourselves. Keep building. It doesn't take days, it doesn't take weeks, it doesn't take months. Sometimes it takes years. And if you want your business to start operating and within a week you are breaking even and things work that way, appreciate the process of the changes that are necessary in your life. You need to appreciate the changes. You can't be the greatest teacher from day one. It is not possible. You need to keep doing this thing and improving with time. Great teachers are not made overnight. It is not possible. Great inventors are not made overnight. Great musicians are not made overnight. It takes days and nights of struggle. Your voice can be perfected over a week. It is not possible. Be patient with yourself. Don't quit because you are not hitting the notes that you want to be hitting when you are a musician. Keep going, and in just a matter of time, you will get there. Remember that you aren't the first to feel the way you feel when you want to quit. This is our second point. We need to remember that every time you feel the urge to quit, you are not the first person to feel that. And it will keep coming. All of us, we experience that sometimes. We feel the desire to give up because to succeed and to stay on the success road, it can be challenging sometimes. And sometimes the criticism can mount up a bit, and it can be tempting to say, I'm giving up and I just want to be normal and ordinary like everybody else. This is your life at stake. You cannot take your life for granted. You can't quit because you feel like quitting. Other people are feeling the same and they are continuing. Why do you want to give up while you can continue also? The third point, know that you grow as a person just from going through the challenges. We grow from hardships. We grow very minimally when things are going well, but we grow mostly when things are a little bit challenging. We go and we grow better when there's a little bit of a struggle. We need to understand that why we started in the first place and how much we really wanted it. It is very important for us to remember. This is the fourth point. We need to remember why we started in the first place and how much we really wanted it. We need to remind ourselves every time, whenever we are tempted or the temptation to quit is mounting, why did I want to change? Why did I want something better for me? Why did I want to start on a project? And that can be motivation to say, you know what? I'm going to make sure this thing comes to pass. Because I had a good feeling. I was enthusiastic about the idea. And just because things are not going the way I want now, it doesn't necessarily mean it is time for me to quit. This thing of quitting is a disease. And we really need to get rid of it. We are ending with few quotes. It is very important for us to understand not giving up is a virtue which we need to harness, which we need to nurture and make it grow. We should not quit. Every time we start on anything, the changes that we want, we should make sure after we are done with the planning and the decisions, we should burn the bridges behind us. It is very critical. Chinese Sun Tzu, in his book, The Art of War, taught armies to burn their boats and destroy the bridges behind them as they advance into new territories. He argued that soldiers without the option of taking flight are most likely to prevail over their objectives. This is the tactic, military tactic, that was used in ancient Chinese territories. Sun Tzu expressed this thing to say whenever an army went into a new territory, they burned the boats that brought them into that shore. And when you do that, you know for sure, it's either I win the battle or I perish. And with that, it is always motivation enough to say, I'm going to fight with everything. And we need to understand, whatever decision we make, if we don't burn the bridges, if we don't burn the boats behind us, the temptation to quit will always be there. If you know you have a way out, you always be tempted to use that way out. We need to burn the bridges. In whatever thing, whatever decision we make that is meant to improve our lives, we should make sure we burn the bridges behind us so that the temptation to go back to our old ways, our mediocre life, should not exist in our vocabulary and all that. So we burn the boats and we burn the bridges. When you ignite the boats, you ignite the desire of everyone, not just to survive, but to succeed. When people see the boats on fire, they know we are here to succeed. We are here to conquer. We are here to make sure that we come out victorious. It is very important because this is how the Chinese army used to do it in the ancient times. And the Greek soldiers understood the idea also. They possessed an unwavering attitude to victory and commitment. When Grecian army landed on their enemy shore, the first order the general gave was to burn the boats. They knew the power of motivation and necessity. It was very simple instruction with the Greeks again. Whenever they enter the territory, the first order the generals will give is to say, burn the boats. And those are the things that gave them no option. There is a sea behind them and there are enemies before them. It's either they conquer the enemies before them or they perish or they die. And no one wants to die. That's why the Greeks used to advance and conquer territories, because they didn't have an option but to succeed. And finally, we're talking about Alexander the Great, who burned his boats upon arrival on the shore of Persia. By burning his boat, Alexander committed his men to victory over the Persians, who greatly outnumbered the Macedonians. Considering that Alexander was was feeling the decision to destroy their only hope of retreat was extraordinary and proved to be a master decision. Alexander the Great was known to have conquered every territory that he went into. And he introduced even his culture. Whenever he conquered a territory, he introduced the culture that they had. He was very aggressive in his approach. He knew for them to succeed, for them to conquer, every time, bend the boat behind you so that there is no option. You don't give yourself the option to quit. You don't give yourself the option to give up. Giving up is not an option. We really need to take out of our vocabularies. Quitting shouldn't be a habit that we are used to. We need to just get rid of that and live our lives the best possible way we can. We should never quit. For us to succeed, for us to change our lives, for us to make the changes that are necessary in our lives, we should keep going. We should keep grinding. We should keep digging. It doesn't matter how hard it can become. We need to keep digging. We need to keep digging until we succeed. Life is open before us. We can improve. We can change our circumstances. We can change our situations. We can do better. As long as we don't have this thing in our vocabulary of saying, I am giving up because I'm faced up with challenges. Challenges are not spelling for quitting. Challenges are there to be overcome. If we can keep doing the right thing, we are going to succeed. If we are going to keep grinding, we are going to make it. If we are going to continue digging, we are going to make it. It will just take a decision to change our life, decisions to make plans on how we are going to execute the changes that we want. And we keep going. It doesn't matter whether it becomes a little bit difficult. It doesn't matter whether it becomes a little bit steep. When our muscles are cruciating with pain, we need to understand, we need to keep going, we need to keep rolling, we need to keep digging until we see the changes that we want. We can do this. We can get to our destinies. We can get to our desired lives. We can change our course. We can do this. Thank you very much.